This is your revision rundown for the change of base. Last time round we looked at a few different rules of logarithms, namely the multiplication law, the division law, and the power law. Now, one of the assumptions regarding the multiplication law and the division law were that the bases of each of the logarithms had to be the same. Now, there are some cases where the bases aren't the same. For example, log a to base b plus log m to base n. Now, in order to solve this equation, we're going to have to find a common base. And to do this, we're going to change the bases. For example, let's take log a to base b and set this as k. Now, if we want to write this into a power, that means b to the power of k is a. Now, since both sides are equal, that means the logarithms of both sides will also be equal. So let's take a base c, and that means that log b to the power of k to base c is equal to log a to base c. And now we're just going to apply the power law. So log b to the power of k to base c will just be k log b to base c. Now we're going to substitute log a to base b into k. So log a to base c will now be log a to base b times log b to base c. Now by dividing both sides by log b to base c, we get log a to base b is log a to base c over log b to base c. And this is the change of base rule. Now we can apply this rule to log m to base n, and we can change the base to base c. This means that log m to base n is log m to base c over log n to base c. And now the bases of the equation are equal. You might notice that this doesn't make the equation any easier to solve. And you'd be right. In fact, in further pure maths, you're rarely ever going to get a question that combines logarithms and fractions. There's a much simpler derivation of this equation that you're more likely to use in your exams. Now, this derivation doesn't set the base to another base c, but instead sets it to a. And this means that log a to base b is log a to base a over log b to base a. Now, since log a to base a is 1, as mentioned in part 1, this means that log a to base b is 1 over log b to base a. So, for example, log 3 to base 5 would be 1 over log 5 to base 3. One thing to notice is that the change of base rule has log a to base c over log b to base c. Remember that this is not the same as log a over b to base c. Here's a past paper question for you to try. This is a pretty difficult one, so don't worry if you can't do it. The question states, solve the equation log 8 to base x minus 6 log x to base 8 equals 1. Feel free to pause the video and give this question a go. Now, change of base questions are very common, and in order to solve these, it's a simple three-part method. First, change the bases. Second, form a quadratic equation. And third, factorize it. I'll show you what I mean. First, using the change of base rule, which states that log a to base b is 1 over log b to base a, we get log x to base 8 is 1 over log 8 to base x. Now, it doesn't really matter which logarithm you change, it just matters that the bases are the same. Then you get log 8 to base x minus 6 over log 8 to base x equals 1. Now you're going to multiply the entire equation by log 8 to base x. So you're going to get log 8 to base x squared minus 6 equals log 8 to base x. Now if we move everything over to make one side 0, we get log 8 to base x squared minus log 8 to base x minus 6 equals 0. Keep in mind that the power law does not apply here, so this won't be 2 log 8 to base x. Anyways, we're going to factorize. If this doesn't make any sense to you, you can set log 8 to the base x as k. That means that k squared minus k minus 6 equals 0. And once you factorize, you get k equals 3 or k equals negative 2. Now if we substitute log 8 to base x back into k, we get log 8 to base x equals 3 or log 8 to base x equals negative 2. If we convert this all back into a power, we get x cubed equals 8 or x to the power of negative 2 is 8. So we either get x equals 2 or x equals 1 over the square root of 8. As you can see, we changed the base, then we made a quadratic equation, then we factorized it to find the value of x. Congratulations if you got this question correct. This question was a total of 5 marks, and the 5 marks were given for changing the base, converting it into a quadratic equation, factorizing, converting into a power, and finding x. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can check out parts 1 and 2 in the description below. Thanks for watching.